So thank you again, Senator, for joining us today. As I mentioned earlier, you had a busy day today, but you still honored our invitation. You're very second guest on this edition of When She Leads, and When She Leads is essentially to amplify the voices of past and current elected female politicians. Before I start, I'm going to read a little bit of your profile, and just because of the unique experience and the track record you have, so that people can contextualize why it's so important to engage you, and look forward to the conversation we have today. So Senator Binta Garba is a Nigerian politician and lawmaker. In 1999, she served in the Federal House of Representatives, representing Kaduna South till 2011. Thereafter, she served at the Senate between 2015 and 2019, representing Adamawa North. These made her the first politician to represent two different constituencies. Please, we didn't say the first female politician, the first politician. She's a woman of many firsts. She was the only female senator-elect in all 19 northern states of Nigeria in the 2015 elections, and one of the only 7 women that made it to the Red Chamber, fondly called the Queen of the Red Chamber by her colleagues because of her lively manner and influence. Welcome, Senator. It's such a privilege and honor to speak with you today. Welcome.
Thank you very much, and I'm most humbled.
Thank you so much. Senator, all right, we get right to this. So as you know, When She Leads is about curating your experiences and documenting your political journey. I think just to sort of have a soft landing, would like to tell us about just give us some background information about your career in politics and how it all began. What inspired you to start politics?
Well, thank you very much, and I'm really delighted to add my voice to other members that have spoken or the future ones that will speak after me, and to encourage the Nigerian woman out there that whatever she believes in and determines, at the end of the day, she gets the victory at the tail end of the day. But the most important thing is the way a manner Nigerian woman or the Nigerian women are being looked upon in court when it comes to political activities. I, for one, wanted to change the narrative of who the Nigerian politician woman is. And it has not been a kind of a good journey. When I started, it was a hard journey, a taxing journey, a journey that you need to shout on top of the mountaintop and say, hey, I am not only a woman, I'm a Nigerian and competent enough to hold any elective or appointive offices. But my story is a kind of a little bit twisted, because I was working with a New Nigerian newspaper, and from 1990 to 1997, and I had to now drop that job to vie for an elective position because of an incident that happened at the New Nigerian, which I've said over and over. There was this colleague of mine that were employed on the same day, on the same cadre, and after a while we were promoted. But in the promotion, I saw that he was way lifted up far above me. And in my manner as a woman that I don't see things and stop talking, I now started asking why was the reason why he was elevated more than me while we have the same schedules. And they jocosely laughed and said, Binta, he has more responsibility because he's a married man. And I said, excuse me, I too am a married woman. And they laughed over it. But the next month, then I was downgraded down one level down. And I said, hey, something is wrong somewhere. But I tried to get an answer to my question, and nobody was giving me that answer. And when I went home after a month, and I said, hey, something is wrong somewhere. If as mouthy as I am, I could be treated this way. What about those women out there that cannot express themselves? And I just said, no, it won't work. I'm going to go into the House of Representatives to be a voice of those voiceless women. And the next day I picked up my pen. I didn't even discuss with my late husband of blessed memory. And I said, look, cheated and maltreated. And I think I need to be that lone voice shouting in the wilderness for the liberty and liberation of women in terms of their status and in their terms of their pursuit. And he looked at me and said, good luck. So I now rendered my resignation. They were asking why. And I said, look, something happened and nobody was willing to give me an answer that is convincing to me. And I drove to Abuja, went to a political party, then the NCPN, as National Center Party of Nigeria. And I said, I want to contest an election and I want to be registered. And they looked at me and said, Binta, you have to start from your word. You need to go back to Kaduna. You need to go back to your word, registered as a member. Then from there, you picked up. I turned again, went back to Kaduna and did what I was directed to do. And I started, and people were like, at that time during the late Abacha, the party that was in was the I think UNCP, and nobody ever thought about NCPN. And I said, no, I don't want to go to a place where it is congested. I want to go to a place where I can get a platform and we can build a party. And that was how we started. Unfortunately, 1997, I couldn't make it. I came third. But I told myself, I said 10 times I will go into that election. If 10 times I fail, I will still continue until I make it at the end of the day. So it was a determination deep inside of me. Yeah, people started calling you names. I know this girl, where is she coming from? What does she want to do? Where is she going to? And I said, look, what is in that place that you don't want a woman to be there? And I said, no, politics is meant for men. And I said, who told you? Because at that time, I had to look at the Constitution. And I said, there's nowhere, even the Nigerian Constitution was not biased or is not biased towards gender. And the irony of it is that the Kaduna South that I was contesting is a conservative constituency where populations are more Muslims than the Christians. And I said, no, religion cannot bar me, just the way you are using the sentiment. But when we started, and the other people can say, hey, wait a minute. This lady contested the last election, she didn't make it, and here she is again, coming out on the APP at that time in 1999. I said, one elderly man, I said, the man we have tried has failed us. Why don't we try this girl and see if she can make an impact? And I took that as a challenge. And I said, if men have failed, when given position to a woman, definitely she will try all within her pursuit to see that she maintained that integrity and shame those doubters. And that was it. And the men came out. And unfortunately, in 1999, most people never believed that democracy was going to work, since the military were still on ground. So we went in. Ironically, the guy that won under the UNCP was the one that contested under the PDP. And I don't know how God did it. I started changing the narrative. The men were using for political gain, I was not turning it the other round. I said, I don't do the talking, I walk the talk. So whatever I said I would do, I made up my mind not to make promises that I cannot fulfill. And unfortunately for me, in the little area I was living, I took it upon myself. Wednesdays and Fridays, I was doing a kind of environmental sanitation, going from one home to another, one family to another, because most of the women are in Puda, to start to talk to them about hygiene, to start to talk about trading, how to do business. Since you can't go out, why don't you start selling groundnut oil? Why don't you start selling pepper? And why don't you open a little purse where if you make 100 naira, make sure that you keep 20 naira for a rainy day and what have you. And that little interaction I was having with the women, coming out to not tell them about hygiene, how to keep the environment clean, buying some certain, Kero at that time, pack all the refuge, burn them, tidy up and see if their children are not well kept, look for, take masod, give it to them. And I didn't know that it was a seed I was sowing. So when they heard that Binta was coming out to contest the election, these women were the one that now gave me even the encouragement and said, at least, Binta, you've been there for us. We've seen what you can do. And we know that when you are there, you will, at least, if not to us directly, but even to our daughters, you will clear their tears in our eyes to see that our daughters too become a voice in the society. And that was it. So it wasn't easy. The men on their own are looking for loopholes to see how they can destroy me. Are you sure she is married? Who is that man that has given this woman the guts to come out and contest? No, where is she from? Who are her family? So they start digging deep into the family I come from. But the greatest joy that I have is that I was focused, I was determined, and I spoke to myself over and over that 10 times I failed, 10 times I will rise, and 10 times I will vie for that position. But the rest is story. Well, I'm not from I'm from a very, 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 very poor background, but a humble home. I was brought up by a mother who she is still a farmer, a father who was a driver in the Nigerian army, retired as a corporal. We've seen it all, how you struggle to make ends meet. I sold bread, I sold sugarcane, I sold granite, all in the name of trying to see that I could help my mother, and the family up. And yeah, my humble beginning was not a palatable one. I went through pain growing up, but the joy that I have is that they were all tilted towards what I will become in the future. So I give God the glory.
Wow, that's a very powerful start. I literally have felt the hairs on my skin just pop up. I think you dropped so many nuggets of wisdom there. I like the fact that you said, I don't do the talking, I walk the talk. I like the fact that 10 times let me see if I can get it. 10 times you fail, 10 times you will try again, and 10 times you will win. I think that is very powerful, your resilience and seeing how you were able to navigate, that terrain. I'm going to, let me dive a bit slightly. You mentioned something about the women in the community supporting you. I think that is so powerful. And in Nigeria today, judging from last election, more than half of the voting population were women. So why is it that female candidates are still getting it wrong? Why is it that women are not voting for the female candidates that are coming out? What has changed since then?
Well, I think one of the biggest obstacles that we women face politically in Nigeria is that the culture, the tradition is not in favor of the women. But like I told any other woman, some of the women that wanted to vie for any political position, sometimes we start late in the sense that if election is concluded, take the last election in 2019, and you didn't make it at that point in time, or you have an interest in 2023, you don't just wait till 2022 to now want to start vying for a position. I literally tell women, and I said, the men gather and take decision at a very odd hour. There was an incident that happened. Meeting was supposed to take place at about 10 p.m. They now said, no, the chairman is not around. We have to be shifted to 12 midnight. And they said, no, we can't take 12 midnight. We need to come back by 2 a.m. Literally, I think there were some people within the caucus that wanted to have their inner caucus and take a decision so that the next day they would have said, no, a decision has been taken in the meeting. And that 10 a.m., my late husband took me there. They said 12. He brought me back by 12 midnight. I went out and said, don't you have a husband? Why are you out there? And I said, excuse me, don't you have a wife? Why are you out here? And they laughed and said, no, the meeting is for 12. So I didn't come in as early as maybe 1:30 or thereabout. So we came in exactly a minute to 2 a.m. And they were not like, you are the only woman here. And I said, what's the big deal? Other I'm a woman. The thing is that we want to win election. We want to win election. So if I am here or I am not here, does not matter. I am representing a particular segment of the population, and I should be given my right to speak and to see how we can move this party. And ironically, I told them, ironically, at the end of the day, it is the same women that you don't want them to be in the table that you will now use during the election. Exactly. And why won't I be here? So they now kept quiet. So I became a thorn in their flesh, trying to nose around to see. And when a decision we were taking, I'm the only one that has the known voice, because I'm the only woman there. So I started looking for women who can now join in the movement. But again, most of them say, I know that time is not ideal. And obviously it is not ideal. I told them, if you want to go into elective position, there is one or two people that are so important to you that you must get their blessing. If your parents are alive, you must get a parental blessing. But before the parental blessing, you must get the family blessing. And that family blessing has to start with your spouse. If your spouse gives you the north, the children gives you the north, then you now look for a parent or a father or mother, if both of them are alive, to give you the blessing. And once you get those blessings, you now know that you are literally empowered by these two forces that are all the time. So the culture is one thing. The religious angle, which obviously they are taking, is another thing. Let me give you a typical example that happened when we're trying to work on the constitutional amendment in the previous assembly, when I happened to be a member of the Constitutional Amendment Committee. And now we're saying that, hey, Nigeria is a signatory to the 35% affirmative action, which is the Benji Platform +5 that was held some years ago, over 30 years ago. Almost 20 years ago. Yeah. And now, why don't we just include just the section of 35% affirmative action? Initially, when we started deliberating, it was accepted by the committee. We now had to go back to the House of Representatives to sell the idea, which again, the female parliamentarians there had to take up the fight on that time. Went to Lagos. I asked now, I said, can we include Committee on Women Affairs of the 36 states of assembly? Because for you to get the constitution passed nationally, you need 2/3 of the state houses of assembly. And the 2/3 has to do with 24 states houses of assembly, and in concurrence with most of the amendments that you needed to do in the parliament. And we're able to bring in those Committee on Women Affairs into that thing, and we went. And when we came in, I was shocked to my marrow that now in the parliament, you have your caucuses, the northern caucuses, the southeastern caucuses, the southwestern caucuses, and the south-south. And sometimes we now merge in as South Caucasus that has to do with the Southwest, Southeast, and South-South. If we now say we have the North Caucasus, has to do with the Northwest, North Central, and Northeast, to now take positions that will affect Nigeria. It was accepted. And what was it? Section 147 that talked about appointive position. And we said it has to do with one representative in each of the 36 states and 35% affirmative action, so that at least out of the 36 members that will make up the Federal Executive Council, we will just have 12, supposed to be 12 point something, but we just need 12 women out of 36. And it became a problem. And it was a battle to be fought with. And I had to now ask my colleagues, and I said, excuse me. I said, no, our religion does not accept it. I said, you cannot be holier than the custodian of Islam. I said, if the Council of Umars, Shura, that in Saudi Arabia, can give more women in their council, which is that House of Representatives, than that of the American Congress, then you can't be holier than them. And they kept quiet, and you were like, I said, go and Google the Council of the Shura of the Saudi Arabia Syria and see what is happening there. Or look at the United Arab Emirates and see what is happening there. So issue of religion does not arise at this point in time. When I say it cannot be me, but we don't know. It could be your granddaughter tomorrow. It could be your great-granddaughter. So we're talking about futuristic activities that will have to affect the Constitution. It is not the now. It was when we now went going and now some of them are accepting a commissionership, but they don't want. And somebody said, are you talking about elective or appointive? And I said, look at the Constitution very well, what we want to. We're not talking about, elective, we're talking about appointing. Unfortunately, they passed and we lost with less than 25 or 26, less than 30 votes to make that amendment on. So sentiments are being used against the woman. In the North, it is religious. In the South, it is culture. So at the end of the Nigerian Constitution is unbiased. So how do you put the two together to see how we can make it? So it is the prayer of the spouse, the prayer of parents. If the family have given the blessing to a woman, she can go and start it. And sometimes again, is the financial incapacity that is disturbing the Nigerian woman. Because when you now said you want to go into the House of Representatives, you can't, there are some certain amount of money. If you have about 2-3 local government, definitely you know that you have more money that you have to go on political activities. But the men can gather and say, hey, I'm supporting this person with so amount of money. But how many of Nigerian women can come together and rally around one woman that wants to contest the election? And that is when we talked about our business women out there that have made. If you can't do it in your own constituency, but within your environment, we need to get involved to now the emancipation of the Nigerian woman politically. Because if you look at what is happening in America, where there are a group of American women, either Democratic or Republican, and looked at one particular person of interest that cannot drive their interest in the parliament, they gather money. And that is when they we come across one that is called the Emily list.
Emily's list, yes.
Yes, where women will now gather, if it is $10, $5, $1 to gather and say, hey, this is what we want you to pursue for us in the parliament. Are you ready for it? If you said yes, okay, we're going to sponsor you. So if they can do that, we have prominent Nigerians that are blessed by God in our country. And why wouldn't they? If they can do it in their local government, they can do it within their area of business. So they can help the Nigerian woman. Apart from the finances, where will she go? Because towards the tail end, unfortunately, they use the women again to fight a woman at the end of the day. Because I told most women, I said, until we've come to a conclusion as Nigerians that we are a voice to be reckoned with, number one. Number two, we are the disadvantaged Nigerians in terms of education, in terms of healthcare, in terms of infrastructure. Because if you look at the northern Nigeria, what she lacks is mostly infrastructure. Because the the northern Nigerian woman is given out to marriage at an early age. At the end of the day, she has some health issue where we have the VVF. So until you start now looking that you cannot take our vote at the detriment of our joy. And if you now know that and you said, oh, our women are lying down there without medical care. Our girls cannot go to school because of some inhabitation. So what do we do? So until we now look at those areas and with the women now say, I told the women, I say enough of the dancing and buying, I should be and following them to go for campaign. It is time for us to be serious. It is time for us to go to the drawing board. It is time for us now to ask a question. You need our vote. What do you have for us on the table? How many commissioners are you giving us? How many special assistants are you giving us? How many, the parastatals, how many positions will you give women? Because one woman given a position, obviously, whether we like it or not, every other woman will be happy. But until we now come to that conclusion, my dear sister, it will be an uphill task for us to reach our goal. So we have a vote. We are the ones that are being used during elections. At the end of the day, we are now being relegated as if we are nothing. Yes, they say, we gave you, I hate it, I despise it, when they will now look at a woman and say, no, take 2 Maggi or one salt that is 200 naira and go and cast your vote. The question I ask the women, before election, don't you cook with Maggi? Or before election, don't you get salt? So they say, it's true, but what do we do? If they enter, they will not vote, come and look for us. I said, then why do you want to cast your vote on somebody that you know tomorrow he will not be there for you? So those are the issues that will now start to look. We need to start educating our sisters, our mothers, our daughters on the need to look for people that will bring about dividends of democracy. And I can bet you and I can vouch for the women that are in the parliament. I remember in 1999 and 2003, when some of us were looking for how we will elevate. And for our information, I was the first person to start the constituency project. What do I give back to the people? In 2002, I started the constituency project. I was the one that asked the president then, Olusegun Obasanjo, now I am representing a federal constituency. What do I need to take back as a representative of my constituency in the federal? I was the first person that started the issue of the scorecard. How do you now interact with your people that, hey, what you have sent me to do, this is what I have done, this is what I have achieved, and by the special grace of God, I will do better. So until you now know that you are not there on your own, you are there on the mandates of the downtrodden to see how their life will be alleviated or will be better, then we as politicians will start having conscience within us that, hey, tomorrow we might go back, they might not vote for us. Like what is happening in Kaduna, I wish it can happen everywhere. They will vote for you. Before the election, they will call you. If we vote you, what do you want to do? Irrespective of political party. If they now sit and say, I think this person is better than this one. After you have been elected, the first year, that was what happened to me when I was in Kaduna. Nobody disturbs you. But the second year, they start now asking you, these are the promises you've made to the community. And if you are not fulfilling those promises, they will say, okay, in the next 2 years, you're coming to look for us. So obviously, that is when we will now either give you or support you, or will now reject you. So it's something that is a kind of a give and take issue when I was in Kaduna. But when I went to Adama, it was entirely different ball game that I've seen. Kaduna, it was urban based. Adamawa, it was rural based. So I had two different pictures of what politics is all about. But in summary, a Nigerian politician or a woman that want to work in politics, there are three inhibitions to the Nigerian woman. One is cultural, second is religion, the third one is finances. And until we now see how we can help, I had a kind of a battle even before the election of 2019, when we had our NEC meeting. They said, no, the women will give them 50% of the form, and then whatever. So if you are contesting for Senate, instead of paying 7 million, you pay 3.5 million. If you are and I said, no, sir.
No.
Nigerian woman will buy the form. It's not buying the form or giving us 50% discount. What about the electioneering activities? Tell us that buy your form and we will take the electioneering activities, we will now bankroll it. That I will accept. But telling me because I'm a woman, you are giving me 50%. Now, how do I go into the election? How do I fight the battle? Because you need to spend money on activities that has to do with election, in terms of going to the media, the propaganda here, meeting door to door, doing whatever. Your vehicle needs to go forward. You need to meet those ones in the hospital. You need to meet the disadvantaged Nigerians. You need to go to the marketplace and all those things. how do we go there without funding? So we will buy our forms, but let those governors in here now take it upon themselves that even if they will give us one woman per senatorial zone, that means you will have at least almost 108 members that will be women, but nobody is winning. So again, political will must be impacted in the lives of those people, in the lives of those that are in authority, so that we can see how we can have more women in there. But be rest assured, when we were there in 1999, we were 12. The 12 women worked assiduously to see how we can now lend our voice that we're better off. In 2003, even then, the speaker, who is now the present governor of Katsina State, had to ask the men, these women are inviting me for one empowerment program or the other. You men are only inviting me for one wedding or house opening. To us, it was a beautiful omen or aura that we've heard the speaker talking about. It kind of give us the kind of a zeal to do more. And we did well. But I don't know how it went wrong in 2007. Then the number from 26 went down to 23 in the House of Representatives. And from 23, it now has been going down and down and down till now. Something is wrong somewhere. But the government has to be proactive and see how they will bring deliberate action to be taken so that more women can come on board.
Thank you so much, Senator. I mean, I love how I ask a basic question and it's so robust. I think I find it so useful because it's so practical. And these are some of the conversations we've been having time after time. I also love, and it just really shows that you're a veteran in the space because you understand the complexity and the end-to-end barriers that women are facing in this climate. There are two things you mentioned. I mean, you did mention three key barriers, which is cultural, religious, and financial. And part of really tackling the cultural and the religious is this continuous sensitization to lead to behavioral change, across different areas. The second fundamental thing you mentioned was financial exclusion and why women need to be more financially empowered to be able to negotiate better and run a campaign so that they can compete as men. You referenced Emily's List in the US. It's actually one of the organizations that inspired Electa, one of the organizations that we've been studying. So you have organizations like Emily's List, Vote Run Lead, She Should Run in the US. Emily's List as an organization have raised over $600 million to lead women politics in Nigeria. So just to talk a little bit about what Electa is doing. So ahead of 2023, one of the things, because also the development space, most development organizations don't want to back female-led organizations or people that are leading women's political representation or advancing for that change, don't want to back them financially to directly sponsor campaigns. So that's been a limitation over time. However, at Electa, one of the two things we want to do differently in 2023 is to raise funds for women actually as an organization and back them directly. I completely agree with you when you say that women don't need handouts, saying give them the quota. It's another form of exclusion when you say give them the quota not to buy their forms. No, let women pay for it. And there's one very practical thing we've been talking about, and I think it's time for people to pay attention. When you talk about the role of the women in business, the private sector, we've seen a trajectory of growth where so many women are more empowered, and we've seen so many more women rise into board level positions, executive positions. But where are those women? The men coordinate and organize themselves, mobilize for funds. So it means that we need to start reaching out to those women. We need to communicate differently and ensure that they understand what is at stake when we don't represent women. So we keep doing the job. But it's just really delightful to hear this from you. And we hope that, you never go tired because you're so pivotal in this struggle. And we know that the political climate can be very frustrating sometimes, but thank you for your resilience and, and all that. When you're speaking about finance, despite the systemic issues you face, despite the ones that women are still facing, how are you able to navigate being a 3-time House of Representative member and being elected to serve the Adamawa North constituency and Senatorial District in 2015? How were you able to fund your elections? What can other women learn from this?
Thank you very much. I was expecting that question anyway. Funding, like I said, is not an individual thing. From even the councillor down to Mr. President, there are people of like minds that believe in your struggle will want to. But like I said earlier on, the women have been a little bit not comfortable with it. Where will she get the money? No, let me give you a typical example that I had a kind of conversation with the Nigerian Women Governors Women's Forum. And the question I asked them when we had the meeting was that if you cannot come, if you cannot be part of it, why don't you mentor one person? If you cannot mentor one person, why don't you as a person, the wife of the governor, why don't you even vie for the position? I said, no. I said, but it happened. Khadija Abba was a former, first lady of Yobe State. She came to the House of Representatives thrice. Was made a minister, and now she's back to the house. So if she has not done something that will make the people now look and say, hey, we still need that woman there. So it's a matter of trying to convince your husband to now know. It's not that when you are looking for vote, you look for the women. And when you get the vote now, you say, no, I need to protect my husband. It's unfair. It's unfair. So funding is one of the biggest problems the Nigerian woman will always have in politics until we get it right. Number two, like I said it, I told some of the female members that I buy, I like mentoring women. But to mentor does not mean that you just wake up one day at the lastminute.com and you said you want to vie for a political office. Days are going by. Now we are becoming more, should I say, enlightened, and more people are becoming too interested in vying for political offices. So the earlier you start, the better. And you need to count the cost. If you now know that you don't have the financial strength for House of Representatives, but you have a financial strength for House of Assembly, why don't you start from the House of Assembly? If you know you don't have the financial strength of House of Assembly, you can start as a councillor, for crying out loud. They are all legislative houses of assembly. And I normally tell most of our women, even those ones that are not literate, that if you can communicate and you are a community builder, definitely you can be elected. So we need to know what do we want. You count the cost. You don't just wake up and you can say, okay, I want to build a duplex of 10 bedroom when you know that what you have is a 1 bedroom, money that can build you a 1 bedroom. So we need to count our costs, number one. Number two, we need to look at our environment, the vicinity. Is it favorable towards us? And our level of communication and our level of participation in communal activities. Because if you don't have a communal or a community activity, then obviously we will have an issue. You cannot be in Lagos and want to contest election in maybe Idi Oroko, if I can get it right. And you don't visit that area. They don't know you. It won't work. It's not magic. And like I started earlier, and they asked, who is this person? Which family does she come from? What does she do? What has she done that has affected the life of somebody here? So those are the questions. And you don't just wake up one day and say, oh, gather me these women. I know if I buy their vote. No, gone are the days of all this. I don't know how it is being played in the South, but in the North, they have to know who you are. They have to know your background. They have to know where you're coming from. What do you have on the table for us? And they are looking at community development. They are looking at how do you bring about a change in the health sector, in the school, in the educational sector? How do you affect us in the water we drink and what have you? Those minute things that will kind of enhance livelihood is all they need and require. But someone will go and meet someone in the mosque and say, no, it's un-Islamic for a woman to be a leader. And without you knowing, you say, it's true. Somebody said it is not. So they are now capitalizing on the ignorance of people. And or they will now go to the church and say, no, this woman, she cannot win election, or like what they did to me. She's married twice. And the person that is saying has 3 wives in the house. I have to ask the pastor, I said, hey, he has 3 wives. He takes communion in the church. And you are not asking me this question. You didn't ask, and which you know the issues that is on ground. I said, we cannot be playing politics in the 2 religious houses. It is unfounded for. If a man even does not believe in God, but can give what is expected of him as a politician voted by the people to do what is needed of him, forget about his religious status. Let that be done when God now will judge. So don't be a judge for God. Allow him to do what, if he can give you what is expected of him in terms of infrastructure, in terms of livelihood, in terms of peace and tranquility, where you can be comfortable. Allow him. When judgment comes, then let God now decide who are his and who are not his. But until we start coming towards that direction, obviously we will not go anywhere. We will not. So issue by the financial status of a woman, she needs to count her cost. There's nothing wrong. Like most of the people that came to supported me are the people that I don't even know. Say, I will follow you. And you are an encouragement to my daughter. I'm going to assist you on this. What do you want me to do? No, I will do the printout. I will do the handout for you. No, I will do this. I will do that. So sometimes somebody will come and look at you. I don't have money, but look, this is my 5,000. No, I have only 200. This is my 200. And before you know it, for the people to now say, this is my 200. Then when you do a background check on those people, they are a voice to be reckoned with in their community. So definitely the 200 to you might not be nothing, but the influence he or she has as a community is something that you have to hold on to. So those are the issues. You don't just sit down. And like I said, some of the women are not happy with my comment. I said, my dear, don't go for House of Representatives when you now know you can win House of Assembly. And again, we have to now start begging the governors, going to one area and say, hey, let me give you a typical example. When I was in the House of Representatives, 2 female ladies in Gombe State wanted to come to the House of Representatives. I don't know how they got across to me. Know me, maybe because I chaired the Committee of Women Affairs, and one of them was the Commissioner of Women Affairs. The other was the Commissioner for Education. She was on my neck, and I said, okay, anytime I'm going to Yola, I will stop by in Gombe. Fortunately, at that time, Senator Goji and his late wife, may her gentle soul rest in perfect peace. I was so close to the wife, and I had to now take it, went and met the wife, and I said, hey, why don't you break the jinx? To be one of those that will break the jinx in Gombe State, that at least 2 members of the House of Representatives are from Gombe State. I had to talk to her, and she got to understand where I was coming from. I said, Binta, you need to take another day more and stay with us. When His Excellency comes, I will speak with him. So Honorable Binta would refuse me to stay even in the hotel and force me to stay in her house, so that to now know that yes, I was there. And I was happy. I spent 3 days in Gombe. We have to convince the governor, and the governor said, Binta, out of 2, 1 will go, 1 might not go. And I said, what? The same thing. Religious issue came in. Binta is from a community that are not religiously minded towards who becomes their member. The other one, because of the conservativeness of the people, it will be difficult for her to go. And I was happy and glad that Binta came almost the third term and became even one of the, a leader, a minority leader in the House of Representatives. Unfortunately, she has stayed as a member. She will have won her seat back. But she vied for the Senate, and that was how she lost. But the joy I have is that she never disappointed. She never disappointed me. She never disappointed even Senator Goje, neither her community, because she did extraordinary things to her people. So when you have more women, you have more activities that will be ongoing, and you have less of the problem that government will be facing. And I challenge any other person, I should show me a woman that has been given a responsibility, and I will show you a woman that has delivered. Though you cannot get 100% on anything you do, but if you get 75%, or even if it is 65%, you will nod your head and say, no, I have done well. And those are the issues. So we need to count the cost. And more, unfortunately, men are the one that supports any female like me. They supported me morally and financially. So until we now looked at those key areas, well, I told our women there are things that need to be done. These women that we go to look are impoverished, these women are downtrodden, these women need deliverance in terms of good water, borehole water, or pipe-borne water. They need medical care. They need their children to go to school without them paying too heavily on the child, and all this. And once you give to them, you've taken almost 70% of their problem. Unfortunately, the other way around is what we normally have.
Wow. Well, Senator, this is just so, this conversation has been so insightful and just opened my mind to a variety of issues and the reality on the ground. And you really stood by your words when you said, I don't do the talking, I walk the talk. The depth of knowledge, the experiences. I also love that they're evidence-based. It's not just very fickle conversations. The fact that you're deeply ingrained in the system, you understand the fundamental issues. You are also engaged with women at various levels, from the community to the higher political positions. I think that is just so profound. Now, before I give into one or two questions, Senator, I'm going to ask my second to the last question. Now, there was one thing you said about positioning yourself and how people, by the virtue of your performance, were able to reach out to you to say, look, we want to support you. This is my 200, this is my 500. They open themselves out. Now, based on perception and my personal, or electors' personal experience, Senator, it's been such a big issue to access women. You're one of the few women who have given us the audience. What's the problem? And I ask this because the last by-election, we were doing a gender analysis, because one of the driving also is thought leadership, because that is so important. We were trying to get to do the gender analysis so people could see the kind of gaps we had. We could barely find information on some of the women that were contesting for senator. No digital footprint, nothing on their experiences. How do we change? First is what has led to this fundamental gap? Why are women not accessible? We would like to understand, and what can we do better to access these women, and how can we sensitize them on the importance of opening themselves or documenting their story so that no one is retelling their story, no one is underreporting them, no one is misrepresenting them, and that they can access resources as well, just as you have done?
Well, it's an individual perceptive, and again, like I said, my upbringing, like I told you, I wasn't born with a silver spoon. I told you my father was a driver. My mother still farms. So the interactions that you have with those people down the ladder is very, very important and vital. And like I said, the narrative politically is changing. if you feel their pain and you know their setbacks, definitely you will always be there with them. And there's an incident that happened with me, 2 incidents in Kaduna. And one of those incidents was with late Leila Dogonyaro, who happens to be one of my mentors anyway. I came home from a very hectic campaign. I was so tired. I dressed to take my bath. And I was just stepping into the bathroom. They now called me and said, hey, Leila Dogonyaro wanted to see you. And I said, for me to even, if I take this bath now, going out will be a problem. So let me just wear on my clothes and see her. And ironically, as I wore my kaftan and took my veil, I didn't even know that I had my bathroom slippers on. Went to her house. House was busy. Sat down. I never knew she was looking at me through the window. And after about 10, 15 minutes, I was called in. You know, by our culture, when an elder is talking to you, you don't just stand. So I just removed my bathroom slippers. I didn't even know. And I knelt down to greet her. And she now looked at me and said, I had wanted to talk to you, but the way I saw you, I am convinced that you are feeling their pains and you are behaving like them. And I said, like, oh, I said, those women out there, they want to go and look for their vote. I wanted to see you wear me jewelry and paint your face and wear me big laces to come in here. But when I see you, I now concluded that, hey, you know what you want. So behave the way you behave with these people because they want to see hope. You are giving them hope. You are giving them, and he said, if they are eating their food, eat their food, drink their water, then they will be more confident and they will open up to you. And I smile because before me going home, we went to campaign in one area. I was hungry. When I mean hungry, I was hungry. I entered one of those houses of one elderly widow house, and I don't know whatever she was cooking, but the aroma went through me. All they were talking, I had to go and kneel near I said, Mama, please, can I eat that food? And she said, no, what do you want to do? I said, I want to eat this food. He said, Binta, will you eat my food? I said, are you not eating the food? She said, you mean you will eat the food? And I said, Mommy, what is so special? You mean, I'm hungry, I want to eat the food. And believe you, my dear, she gave me that food. I ate that food because of the hunger, but I don't know what she put in that soup, but it was so, so sweet. That elderly woman looked at me and said, Binta, you ate my food.
Senator, you're muted. Okay, yeah.
Go back home. Never come here again. And what will come out of this vote.
Wow.
This elderly woman went around and said, Binta came to my house as poor as I am, as miserable as my food was. She ate my food and drank my water. And you think this lady will not do something for us? That was how that woman went around that community, and we were shocked to see the vote that came out. What am I saying? How do you assess those people? It depends on how you looked at yourself as a person and what you want to give to the society. Because it's the demand on you, and you hit to the core. And hitting to the core is their vote they have casted on you, to you. The time they spent on that ravaging song, the time they spent maybe in the cold weather, you don't know what will happen tomorrow and what have you. So obviously you need to give them that time. And people differ. This is Binta, very practical. I don't know about another person. But the most important thing is that if you are elected or attempted to be elected, or you have gone through the primaries, then obviously a new chapter has been opened in your life. You are the one that needs to put what you want to become in the future. Like I told you earlier on, 10 times I failed, I've told myself 10 times I will recontest. So if you have that determination, and again, a lot of people are just looking at the name senator or member of House of Representatives, and they think they have arrived. It is more that meets the eyes. Yes, it is how you create time for yourself, time for your community, and time for other people. So if you don't open up today and tomorrow, because there's this movement, we're trying to see how do you collect data of women that are struggling that can win election. And if you don't have a platform where we can roll out your data, then obviously there's a problem somewhere. Somebody can say, no, I'm looking for someone from the Southwest. Obviously, my mind will come, there's this auntie that has been with us. Her name is Engineer Honorable Adeyemi. So those are the things. But if you said you want to be on your own cocoon, then obviously you're not helping yourself and you're not helping the Nigerian woman. For you now to come out and want to aspire, now you have become a public document. But people will look for you if the need arises. And I think it's pertinent for you to avail yourself. We don't know what tomorrow might hold. So I think the decision, we can't get tired. You need to do more. It's frustrating, but you need to tell yourself that you get over this. You get over this. And by tomorrow, the story will change. But definitely we'll talk to them and see how it works. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Senator. Okay, before the last question, let me just read some of the questions we have here. So this is from Mrs. Yemisi Judge. She's joining from the US. She said, great to have you, beautiful Senator Binta. Wow, she had lots of questions, but I'll take just one or two of them. She said, you've been in the corridor of power. I think you've answered this, but I'll still read it, but I think I'll go to the next one. You've been in the corridor of power for a while now. How many young women have you mentored and given a voice to? You would reference some of the people you've spoken with and how you've been able to help them channel their ambitions so that it's relatable and practicable. And so she said, how do we work and make no woman, no vote a reality? I think you've talked about the barriers and what we need to do again, so I don't want to go there. And next question is, as a senator, how many bills on gender equality have you sponsored or sponsoring?
Well, when I was in the House of Representatives, we started the violence against women. That was the initial bill, the violence against women. And the men now rose up and said, no, we cannot be a kind of everything about women. One of them now approached me in the office and said, some of us men are being violated. And when you now said violence against women, we have been disenfranchised. So why don't you look for a word that can now take us? And somebody said, okay, why don't you put violence against person? And that's how the VAP bill came on board. And we now worked with an organization called RAPA. And now we're now kind of brainstorming, how do we now make this bill pass through without any hindrances? And we're now, how do we now get across to the men? And somebody now said, what? And I said, why don't we use the pictorial aspect of it? And I will start looking for pictures of men that are being violated, the child that is being violated, the woman that was violated. And we now brought all those pictures. So when the bill was supposed to be read, what I did was that we printed about 400 different copies of that and placed it on each of members' seats. So for you now to start looking for lobbying, and there was this little girl from Bauchi at the age of 3 that was violated by her teacher, Islamic teacher. There was this boy from Akwa Ibom that was almost killed because in court they have to put a tire to burn him and say he was a witch. There was this man that was almost beheaded in a crisis in Jos. There was this other woman. So we put all those bits and pieces in a pictorial form. And we say every Nigeria is not safe. In one way or the other, we are being violated. So why don't we see to this bill on the violence against persons? My dear, it didn't take up to an hour. The men spoke more than the women. And that was how that bill was passed. So I was instrumental to the Violence Against Persons Bill. The people living with disability, I was instrumental to that, and to the glory of God, today they have their commission. And the issue of what do you call it, Child's Right Act, and I was instrumental to a large extent when we almost have an issue. At that time, the Minister of Women Affairs, Aisha, was the minister in 2003, 2002, and 2001, 2002, thereabout, where she was almost being disowned on the issue of when is the rightful age for a girl to be married. And I told her, don't even go to that side. Let's work on trying to see that the girl is given an opportunity to go to school, even to the secondary school age. So if you now bring about age issue, and it is going to have an issue. So those are the things that I will say that with my heart I work on it, and trying to see how we can include the 35% affirmative action in the Constitution so that they can give a woman the leeway to see that we have more women. Olusegun Obasanjo, the former president, tried on that, and he created one representative of a woman in each of the 6 geopolitical zones. That is why we were able to have more than almost about 10 women. Then Goodluck came in again, and you still use that. And it was during the Goodluck time we had 35% of women, because he had about 12 women in his cabinet. So it is a struggle that you cannot wake up one day and say, no, I've achieved that, without getting, lobbying your male counterpart. Because at the end of the day, Binta is a chauvinist, she's too feminist and all this and all that. I have to now start looking at men that are having a passion towards women. And it reached a stage I have to tell them that, hey, without the mother or without the woman, you wouldn't have been enough. So if we have paid our due in one way or the other, we're not fighting you. We're just asking that, hey, hold my hand side by side. We can move the mountain out of our ways and see that we have victory at the end of the day. But it's not an easy task. It's not an easy task.
Definitely is not. Well done, Senator.
We'll make it one day. Yeah.
Okay, well done. And I mean, obviously, it was really good to see the Violence Against Persons Act, get passed. That really showed, and I love the practical approach. It's also giving you an insight into like lobbying and how you need to contextualize and localize lobbying. So many times when we think about lobbying, we think about the Washington DC style of lobbying. What you did right there was very powerful, saying you printed those. And I think it just haunted the men and sort of cajoled them into. So I think that's a very interesting case study that someone should definitely write about, so that other people can study how you're able to overturn decisions like that, especially in a male-dominated legislature. So this is from Mabel Omolola. She says, Senator Binta has surely made a mark in the Senate from an insider's point of view. However, we need the numbers in governance, especially in parliament or other elective offices. That's the only way that Nigerian women can speedily influence gender-friendly policies. My question is, how can a female politician practically raise funds for a campaign? I know we have touched on this, and we have one or two other people that have access. So I think it's something that people really want to know. What are the practical steps? So what are the 3 practical steps or ways that you think women can raise funds for their campaign?
You can do a fundraising. In 2003, I did a fundraising. I tried to look at the people that can help me, and quite a while. It wasn't easy, but at the end of the day, we put our bits and pieces and we raised a lot of funds through the fundraising. Again, the fundraising came in after 1999, and seeing what I did in Kaduna. And a lot of people started looking at, how do we help you? And I said, okay, well, we will now have a fundraising dinner, which we did in Sheraton, and the outcome was something else. So through fundraising, one could be able to achieve that. Again, like I said, in the context of Nigerian politics, the women are silent. In one fora, I challenged the richest woman in Nigeria, the oil, Alakija. And I said, Alakija has made her mark in the oil and gas. And even with this PIB bill that has become a problem, I was thinking that Alakija would have now said, okay, even if she's from Ogun State, based in Lagos, Lagos was a little bit flexible to the women. Because I remember in 2003, there was an incident, yes, Lagos produces 3 House of Assembly member, Kaduna produces 3 houses of assembly member, House of Rep, in terms of geopolitical, senatorial district. And that is a political move. But if people like Alakija could now fish out one woman that can win an election, I said, look, I want to bankroll your election. Don't give her the money, bankroll it, be in the media. Okay, you want to be in the media. How much will it cost for you to be in the media, maybe from Monday to Wednesdays or thrice a week till the election goes? That is part of the logistics that is being needed. Okay, no, I'm going to fuel your cars that are going. Those are part of logistics that a woman needs. Or no, okay, you are traveling. How many people are you traveling with? Who are you going to do? Who are you going to meet? Or no, want to meet this orphanage home, want to meet the women, the association of widows in this community or in the state. Those are the kind of things we need. Don't give money. When we say bankroll, look for one item in the as a logistics, and now move with it. That will help the woman in winning the election. You can come out and say, oh no, we need this woman in the parliament. If she there be her own voice in that community, people will not look at her. If Alakija can come out and contest, and ask us to do this, even within her organization, and say, this is what I want you people to do for us, it will go a long way. So when we talked about financing, then it's not given the liquid cash. I'm one person that does not believe in giving aspirant a cash to do. But when you come out with a budget proposal, we're going to spend about maybe 20 million naira here. Media is going to take 5 million. The logistics for our traveling from point A to point B is going to cost us 6 million. Visiting the orphanage or this association here or the market women here is going to cost us 3 million. When you look at that, if we take one item, another person takes one item, at the end of the day, the little that one has now will be looking towards the election. So I think those are the things that we need to do. And like I said, until you win your primary, nobody will want to come to your aid.
Absolutely.
So until you win a primary, so struggle to win the primary. And winning primaries again, my dear, we cannot lie. It's all about money and intricacies. Yeah. The people might like you, but some people can push you and say, this one gave me 20,000 naira. How much are you giving us? They won't forget that is the birthright they are selling. That is the birthright they are selling. Like I told them earlier on, why would you want to give me 5 Maggi and 1 sachet of sugar? Don't you drink sugar before now? Don't you cook with your Maggi? So those are the things we need to start informing the people, trying to change their psyche to now know. I know some will say, if we do this one today, we'll never see them. So let us get our share. But you have forgotten the share you are getting. If the person goes back to the parliament, he will want to see how he can accrue those expenses that he has expended on you and gets it back, even with an interest before he starts looking at you. So who is fooling who? Who is fooling who? So we need to start changing the narrative in our campaigning, in talking to our women, and you as the civil society needs to do more. I'm happy that you have started taking the bull by the horn by doing whatever you're doing now towards 2023. Is a good start, trying to kind of pass information, trying to get more information, trying to say how you can open the space for more women to come in and all this thing. But my dear, the truth of the matter is that it needs a political will.
Absolutely.
When you have a governor that is more gender sensitive, all we are saying is rubbish. when the Constitution is not giving some certain position post to women, we're absolutely talking rubbish. The other thing is for us to do all that it needs for us to do, so that at the end of it all, we will see what we can achieve at the end of the day. Like I said, it is an uphill task, but little by little, with one encouragement or the other, with one push here and there, definitely one day it will be a story of the past. Because if you looked at what is happening in Rwanda, and I hate when I see my members of Nigerian people now equating ourselves to people like Rwanda, South Africa, Botswana. It was a proactive measure taken by the women.
Absolutely.
Even this Kenya. The story is that it is practical. When apartheid was fought, the women said, we fought along with our men. Our children were killed. We went through one pain or the other. So now that we have gotten our victory, you can't say we will be pushed over. And in today's South African constitution, if a he is a speaker, a she must be deputy speaker. And so there is this twinning system that has been included in their constitution. So until we start looking at those measures, we cannot say, we are northerners, we are conservative. So we allow the southerners to fight. No. Until we honor the Nigerian women, irrespective of our status, irrespective of our religious divide, and say, no, we are women and we have a common agenda and a common goal, is that we need, if we are going to be participatory in the elections of ABCD, then it is pertinent for us to be included in the distribution of appointments. If you do that, obviously people will do. But my dear, I have spoken from the high heavens to the lowest. But it's like I'm beginning to sound like a broken record. Maybe she's frustrated. It's not about me. To God be the glory. I've been in the parliament for 16 years. It's about my daughter. It's about my granddaughter. It's about my great-grandchild. It's about a girl out there that has not been given the space for her to leverage on. So we need to start changing the narrative. Initially, before even my father said it of blessed memory, hey, how will I train a woman? Hey, she will go and bear somebody's name. I won't do that. At the end of the day, who are the one taking care of him before the Lord calls him home? It's the women. So it is a woman has 1 naira, she thinks about her parent. A man has 10,000 naira, he's thinking about his family. So even the attitudes of our parents are beginning to change, even now. So I'm pleading with the Nigerian woman out there who wants to vie for the position to see it and count the costs. It's not about giving me free form. And sometimes we pick the form because it's free and say, no, me too, I attempted. And that's why people are saying, honorable this or senator this. Yeah, it is the title, but have you earned it? So those are the issues. And gone are the days of godfatherism. The one that I cannot take it is a woman coming out to vie for a position. The next thing they'll say, she's a prostitute. The question I asked the man, if a woman is a prostitute, is she the one that approached the prostitute, or is the man that approached the woman?
I'm sorry. So
sometimes you need to give them a word against their word.
Absolutely.
They don't call a man a prostitute, but they call a woman a prostitute. They don't call a man irresponsible because you are there as a politician. They call the woman an irresponsible woman. What makes her an irresponsible woman? Because of the space she's trying to ask to be created so that she can now add her own quota to the development of our country. And I said, I've never seen a woman that will stand on the road and it's not a man that will come and look for her. So now, even in the politics, now are we standing on the road for you to come and look for us? No. I said, create a space for me. What you are vying for, let me vie.
Level playing field.
What you want to contribute, let me contribute. That's why we said we're not asking to be the head. We're just working to be side by side. Hold my hands and hold your hand. And let's take this country to the next level. But it's unfortunate, my dear sister, it's unfortunate that for us to start changing the mindset of our people, and especially the downtrodden, that they will now use sentiment of religion, sentiment of ethnicity on our people. It's rather unfortunate. But Rwanda, it is a deliberate attempt. Today, Rwanda has the highest number of women in parliament, the highest number of women in administration. You're talking about 56% in governance, 52% in parliament. You talked about Botswana. It is a deliberate attempt to
deliberate.
It's deliberate. And I even said the Constitution as enshrined in Section 40 or 42 thereabout, where we said there is no gender inequality. So if the Constitution said there is no gender inequality, then the political party should enshrine that. Unfortunately, I was so impressed with Lagos State when they started doing the twinning system. The western part now took over. I am the governor, my deputy must be a woman. I am the speaker, the deputy must be a woman. Then it gives you a kind of a psyche that, hey, these people know what they are doing. But when you go to a place that even the Commissioner of Women Affairs is a man, then there is a misnomer somewhere. I remember when I was a chairman of APC in Adamawa State, it was a deliberate attempt. I looked for women. I didn't even know I was going to be one of these contestants. I looked for one woman per senatorial district to see how we can now fill in the gap and allow women to go in. And when somebody was talking about mentoring, one of the ladies that came in on board after was from the southern part of Adamawa State. I was deliberately on her because she was an instrument, a grassroots. She can mobilize people from the grassroots. She was a councillor. She did well. She became a commissioner. She did absolutely well. You will never find her on the high and heaven. The high of the. She's always at the lowest ebb. And I deliberately forced her to come up. And at the end of the day, she won the election. Unfortunately, she didn't make it for the second time. But it's like we need to start mentoring women. But like I told the people, when I was talking to her, I said, my dear, when you want to meet these women, don't dress the way you dress gorgeously. They will not respect you. She told me point blank that is how she dresses, so she cannot change it. So what will you do? I'm a mature person. And I said to her, okay, I wish you all the best. What would I do? So it depends on what do you want? How do you want to affect your community? What do you want to now be remembered for? And my dear, it's not easy. But I would applaud people like my sister from Lagos State, Abike Dabiri. Like I told anybody that cares, I said, give her a dustbin, she will turn it to gold. Because these are people that think ahead of time. These are people that know their onions to do what they want to do. You go to Kaduna, look for Sauda Tusani. She started this MDG, and we know the impact of MDG in our constituency and senatorial district. These are women that have fought the battle and know what politics is all about, and they want to give back to the community. And you go back and you look at what other women have done. They are there. But after they've lost election, nobody remembers them. And when you now say, hey, if we are looking for somebody, so and so, and why would we look for them? Don't we? Some people too have contributed. And it's not about how much you have contributed. It's about having an impact in the life of the downtrodden. I can bet you, my dear sister, even those ones you say you cannot assess, they did well. And one woman that I drove my heart was in Kiruka, the whip in the house, the deputy whip. When she saw the table was turning, she turned too. So you need to have the eagle eyes to now project what will happen in the future, and you now force yourself into it. Today, in Kiruka is in the House of Representatives. So it is not easy, my dear, but definitely we will get over it.
Senator, this has been such a powerful session, and I feel like we could go on and we'll stop. But we have you now. You're our mother now, so Electa definitely will not let you go because there's so much wisdom from you. There's so much practical knowledge. The depth of knowledge is just so profound, and I think more and more people need to hear your story. They need to understand what politics really entails and the kind of uphill battle they have. But they need to also understand that women have done this. Women are doing this, and this is possible. Senator, earlier in the week, Electa presented a memo at the National Assembly. As you know, the ongoing Electoral Act, there was a joint hearing, that's just for the bill to repeal the 2010 Electoral Act and enact the Electoral Act 2020. And one of the things we spoke about, which you said was we're encouraging them to think about increasing the quota. Yes, in the new act, they recognize the importance and the significance of including women in the party administration, because then that has a multiplier effect in catalyzing the candidacy and then the number of women that are elected, which is what you alluded to based on your experience. Now, in that new bill, out of, let me say, the ward, the state, FCT, and the ward and FCT states and all, they said out of 5 seats, they were given 1. So we recommended 2 because it's a game of numbers. Because at the end of the day, if you're going to reserve 1 seat just out of 5 seats for women, at the end of the day, it still feels like that level of discrimination is still there. Now, when they proposed 10 seats out of 50 seats at the national delegation level, we went further and said at least it should be 20 seats reserved for women, because we believe that these are the kind of things we should start seeing. Now, my question to you, Senator, is how hopeful are you, right, about the ongoing constitutional reform and the Electoral Act reform? How do you think this will impact in 2023?
We're talking about inclusion of 35% affirmative action. They now had to call us and say, no, we're giving you 20. We said, no, it's not about giving us some percentage. It's about recognizing the responsibility of the federal government in appending her signature to the affirmative action. So even if you are talking about 50 and you are talking about 35%, we will have talked about the affirmative action of 35%, not 20%. Because Nigeria affirmed or appended her signature to the 35% affirmative action. So for it not to become a law, it must pass through what it is expected of them at the National Assembly. And the Nigerian, there's this act, a policy on the Nigerian women policy, I think. Like I told the previous women affairs, is that look at that policy and metamorphose it into an act. So once if you have it, it cannot be national gender policy, but it's an act. And everybody from the local government to the federal government, you just have to follow it. But it will shock you when I was lobbying the powers that be for that affirmative action to call the Senate president and say, hey, allow this affirmative action to go. And even some of us in the place of authority are saying that it is a struggle that everybody is a struggle, is a game of numbers. So you people should go out where do I then go? We have forgotten that there is going to be a tomorrow you will not be there. And that tomorrow your child will want to vie for a position. And because you have refused to allow that to pass, that child became a victim. So it is not the 20%, my dear. If I had known about it, I would have agitated for that 35% affirmative action. If it is injected in section 147 or 142, I can't remember, they have to talk about numbers. Every Nigerian must be represented in the Federal Executive Council as a minister.
Yes.
And we say includes 35%. Once if it is that, nobody can go in abeyance from that, from the local government to the state and to the federal government. But they said no. So now why are you now bringing 20% when you affirm your signature in the international treaty? So if you had done your work, you will have stood on the affirmative action that it should be enacted from the Electoral Act down. Now we now know that yes, the Nigerian woman has been liberated for a while. But it's unfortunate, I will still say it. We're like the Americans, we talked about liberty and here and there. But unfortunately, in the American system of the legislative arm, there's no gender equality there.
Yes, there's none. That's you, Senator. Thank you so much, Senator. Now, let me round up. I understand that we've spent, it's been so exciting. I don't want to let you go, but we spent a long day. Senator, to wrap up this conversation, what legacy do you hope to leave behind? What legacy do you hope to leave behind?
The legacy I want to leave behind is to now give hope to a Nigerian woman out there that if Binta can make it, despite all, I believe I can make it too. So it's to build the hope in her that tomorrow she can lead. I think that is the legacy I want to leave behind.
Well, thank you so much, Senator. It's been such a delightful evening with you. Thank you for all the nuggets of wisdom. This is definitely one session history will never forget. And the thing about this is we share clips, actually the most powerful moments from this conversation on our social media pages. For people who have not been able to join, we upload on our YouTube page. We promote it just so that people can sensitize themselves. And as I said, Electa wants to tell the stories of women differently. We want women to control their narrative so that people will understand where you've been, what you've done, how you've done it. Thank you so much for a lovely evening, Senator. We wish you all the best. We hope to see more. We look forward to you in 2023. Thank you so much. All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Senator. Have a good
God bless you.
You too, Senator.